All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I'm your host, Cardon with Cody the Oracle.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
And today we're going to discuss Andrew Yang on The View. Cody, what's going on?
Well, I guess simply put, today, this would be Monday, July the 8th. Andrew Yang appeared in The View for about a 10-minute segment, speaking with the panel about a variety of issues. They talked everything from, I believe, Mueller and Trump impeachment, universal health care, marriage counseling for all. That was a pretty interesting one.
Yeah.
Of course, the freedom dividend, and he even addressed the controversy surrounding his microphone at the debates a few weeks ago.
Kind of addressed.
Well, I mean, he stood by his story. He said, yeah, that's, he also brought up the fact, he said, look, I was also asked 2 questions in 2 hours. Like, you do the math, kind of.
Yeah, so let's just actually start discussing that. I was actually very disappointed with Andrew Yang on this one. And whoever he has coaching him needs, I think personality-wise, he may not be that confrontational, okay? And he himself said after the interview that sometimes these big group formats aren't his strong suit, which is fine. Not everybody can have media be their strong suit, but in a media fuel environment, you need to get good fast. Okay, Dave Rubin told us on our show that you have to get brave now. I think for people that are nerds that love math, they need to get good at media fast if they're going to be presidential candidates, because we need their good ideas. And he did say, yeah, I'm sticking to that story, but it was almost in this kind of sheepish, like, well, I don't want to offend NBC, but they didn't really have my mic on, which is great if you're maybe trying to repair a dicey situation with your wife or something. But if you're running for president, you need to be like Ronald Reagan and say, hey, I am paying for this microphone. That is what launched him into the public spotlight, was this fact that I'm loud and I'm proud and I got this plan. Even Joy Behar was like, oh, well, Elizabeth Warren, who obviously she loves, says, I got a plan. I would have liked to have seen Andrew Yang say, yes, absolutely. There was obvious bias against me because I only got 2 questions in 3 hours. And the few times I tried to interject, there was no possibility to interject because my mic was muted. You can watch it online if you want. I hope they fix that issue by the next debate, because I got a lot of good ideas I want to tell America. Grab that bull by the horns, and that's what I would have liked to have seen. So with that said, I can't believe The View is so culturally relevant to so many people, because it's a cluster bomb of stupidity.
Well, there's a lot of shows on television that have been on for many years that have tons of fans, and I'm not a fan of any of those shows. So
yeah,
I do think that,
I worry for our republic, thinking that The View
just,
has as much swing as they do.
Other people have different opinions, and some people love The View. I have to admit, I don't see it, but some people love The View. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of The View. The only thing I will say, like, I don't like to just, attack people who appear and stuff like this, but the one thing I'll say with The View is that there's just this tension that they don't even bother trying to cover up. It's just clear there's certain people that don't like each other and will just snipe at each other and talk over each other on the show, and it just comes across as very off-putting. I'm like, oh wow, like they don't like. Yeah, but it's like, oh, she really doesn't like her. It's not like, I'm a big fan of some of the sports talk shows. I never got the sense that, like, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith hated each other. Maybe they disagree. I think they hated each other. There was, like, any, like, animosity. But on The View, I was like, wow, I don't watch the show that often, so that kind of took me off. Anyway, like, getting back to Andrew Yang, one thing I did think was a little bit interesting. Again, we said he brought up his, I would say he stood by his story. And, he said, look, I believe it was Joy Behar asked him if any other candidate had the same issue. And he said, I believe someone did. He was referencing Marianne Williams. She brought it up. So he basically said, yes, I stand by my point that they turned my microphone off. I should have had more time to speak. I believe he made a joke that next time I'll have to bring a sign or something and say my mic's off.
Yeah,
but,
that was funny.
I mean, I would disagree that he's awful with the media. I think he's pretty good with the media. I generally tend to like him when I see him on camera. When we saw him speak live, I liked him.
Yes. No, affable. And agreeable, yes. I get that he is agreeable.
But I believe him, too. I believe in what he's saying. I believe he cares about what he's talking about.
Yes. Authentic. 100% authentic. I'm just thinking, though, that there's a reason why Donald Trump is our president. And that reason is because he grabs the bull by the horns, he sucks up all the air in the room. And if you go up against that, I'm not expecting you to be like Donald Trump, but I'm expecting you to be a little bit more, so at least you can fight some fire with fire. And also, because obviously the bias of everybody on The View was on full display, and you need to fight that. Like, Joy Behar all of a sudden became a conservative, asking how you're going to pay for a feel-good program.
I would not go as far as say she became a conservative.
Like, oh no, she was sitting there like, no, well, how are you going to pay for this?
But I think within seconds of that, she also turned around and started repeatedly attacking McCain's daughter for being a Republican. So I don't think she became a Republican at any point.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a legit question. Okay, how are you going to pay for it? And he gave his answer. He gave the same answer he always gives. Hey, I'm going to implement a value-added tax. It's going to generate revenue from these sources that currently are not generating
Dude,
tax
I was
revenue.
so frustrated by this one, man. I was really frustrated because I think some of Andrew Yang's ideas are phenomenal, and our society needs them, and the Democratic Party needs to shift from being the party of anti-Trump and the party of the wealthy elites and the party of winning the arguments set up in the 1960s to the party of freaking 2020, because that's when our election is going to be. And that's when I'm paying my taxes. And that's when all those millennials that aren't Meghan McCain, that are living paycheck to paycheck like 80% of America is going to be paying taxes and getting doused by the technological revolution, and also all these continued fights that have never been resolved. Congress and our government is not fixing anything. And whether you love or hate Trump, you have to look at him and think, gosh, I have respect for a guy that is fulfilling campaign promises, because we're just plain old not used to that. Whether you like the campaign promise or not, I just respect somebody that fulfilled one, for heaven's sakes. So the world needs to hear Andrew Yang's good ideas, but unless he can defend them and articulate their value, he's going to be perceived as some pie-in-the-sky nerd that had a good idea.
But
like when he
did, though. He defended it pretty
not
well.
Very convincing. Come on, did you feel that was convincing?
Yes, he explained 100%.
Okay.
Give me a minute, I'll pull it up here. He just explained there are ways to generate that revenue currently today. He explained that Google's investing billions in AI technology.
Okay, no.
And
The
they're gonna use that.
UBI.
But what I'm saying is, beyond that, he explained how the VAT tax would help fund it. He pretty much explained how he thought it would work.
That is, I concede that point. He did defend the UBI well, but for example, I don't feel like he defended the importance of marriage counseling for all.
Well, I mean, I don't think
That-
he was
I mean, that well.
but he was never questioned on the importance of it. He was questioned on, I think Meghan McCain brought up that she disagreed, and he just said, okay. I mean, there's never any point where it was like someone slammed him like, oh, but what about this? And he had no answer. I mean, he basically just said, oh, well, Meghan McCain's like, I would rather do something else than have marriage counseling. And he's like, okay, well, the way my plan would work is if you want to get marriage counseling, the government would just help cover it for you. So if you don't want it, that's fine. You don't have to use it.
Actually, here's my beef, and I figured it out in one word: reactionary. I felt like his interview was very reactionary and wasn't necessarily proactive. And maybe that's just a personality thing. But at the end of the day, I got the same feeling, unfortunately, with Andrew Yang. You think he'd be on friendly turf on The View with 4 out of 5 women being Democrats up there. But he was getting treated like Republicans get treated when they show up.
He always does. He always gets treated outsider. But I want to show you something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull up Google Trends for Andrew Yang. Google Trends for Andrew Yang. If we start at, which would be 8:52 p.m. last night, he starts at just under 25% here, interest-wise. I'm assuming this is when the View appearance was on. He spiked all the way up to, basically, up to 100, about as high as he can get.
Well, that's good news, I guess, because...
Well, no, but here's the interesting thing. He ended the day, or current time, the July 8th at 8:36 p.m., basically as date of recording. He's at 43. So he ended the day higher than he started the day after the appearance. So I think the appearance for just generating interest went well. I thought most of the time when they asked him, here, we're going to play a video clip really quick. This is when, kind of going into their last commercial break, they just said we're going to give you a kind of lightning round series of questions.
Yes.
And see what they come up with answer-wise. So I'm going to get that ready for us.
A definite yes. I'd have to see what the facts were. Also, I've been trying to put it on Congress to make that determination, really, because that's their job.
He was asked
Okay.
if he would be
Closing the wealth gap, especially when it comes to the African-American community. Reparations a part of that?
Well, Martin Luther King championed a dividend for all Americans. I think that's where we should start, $1,000 a month for every American. And then reparations is a whole separate issue, because the $1,000 dividend doesn't address the historical legacy of slavery.
Why should rich white people get $1,000 a month?
Well, the great thing is that it'll remind them that they're still an American.
Yeah, I thought coming up right here, actually, he makes a really good point.
Yeah, that was really funny.
No, but hold one second. Just coming up right here, though, when pressed on why should people that are currently wealthy and making money receive the freedom dividend, I thought this was a really good point he made.
But in Alaska, they have a dividend.
No one at this table needs an extra $1,000 a month.
But in
They're going to
Alaska,
speak
they have
over him for a minute here. But.
Yeah, so then give it away, Meghan McCain.
I wouldn't
could give it
feel
away to charity.
right. I mean, when there's still veterans on the street and homeless.
Then give it to veterans charities, Megan.
That's what he means when he says it reminds you you're an American.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you do for yourself, it's what you do for other folks.
And in Alaska, they give the dividend to everyone in Alaska from the petroleum fund, $1,000 to $2,000 a year, and it depoliticizes it, it destigmatizes it. It's just everyone gets it, and so there's no like, oh, you get it, I don't.
Right.
Immigration.
I'm the son of immigrants myself. I think we need to create a path to citizenship over the long term.
That was pandering.
That's not pandering.
Dude, he has got
I think he
an
believes
immigration policy
No, but
that
hold
makes
on.
Donald Trump look
No,
like
but hold
a
on.
Boy Scout.
You can be strong on the border and pro pathway to citizenship. You can be
No,
both
that's
those
true.
things.
That's fair.
I think
That's
that's what he is. He is strong on the border because guess what? If you're giving away $1,000 a month, you have to be to every citizen, or actually, I believe it's legal resident or citizen of the country. That being said, you have to be careful. Obviously, you have to kind of really keep an eye on immigration, just because you need to know exactly how many thousands are going out every month. To kind of, and that's one thing. Honestly, if any of you guys know any more about this, I've done some research for myself. Put it in the comments. An interesting point about UBI I've thought of is obviously. A lot of people already send money overseas home, and you have to imagine $1,000 a month. Let's say you take $250 of that and send it
Yeah.
overseas. I mean, not even overseas. Even
In the Philippines or in Guatemala, that's
Yeah.
bank.
That's what I mean. So, and that's good, right? I mean, like you
Yeah.
can take a small part of your dividend, send it to your family, and help them a lot. However, a big part of the freedom dividend's feasibility is this notion that money is recycled into the economy.
Yeah.
$250 a month being sent to another country doesn't get recycled in the economy. So while it is helping people, and that's good, it does. I do feel like it undercuts a little bit. Perhaps it has been addressed. I haven't found it myself yet. Maybe he said there'd be some limit on it. I don't know how you'd really police that. It'd be tough if it is $1,000 cash is given to you. But I did think that was very interesting. Just speaking about Andrew Yang and his hands on the border. I mean, like I said, I think he is pro pathway to citizenship, but also strict on the border. Just because he wants to really help the people inside of the border today a lot, and he wants to help uplift the quality of life today, people living in the country, and you have to kind of get a grapple on that first. That's what I think he is.
So, riddle me this, Cody. I guess, I'm coming into this podcast a little bit frustrated because I watched it, and The View frustrates me. So probably not my most positive side is coming out with the most positive analyses. But I did kind of feel like so many of the questions they were asking him, there was this disconnect that was almost palpable in their ability to even receive the answers. You know how, for example, when you're talking to your grandparents about, oh, look, there's this really cool new band that was on the soundtrack of this video game. Like, when you're talking to your 85-year-old grandma, there's just a generation gap that you cannot cross in some things in a 2-minute period, okay? And so many of Andrew Yang's ideas are so good because they are literally Gen Z and millennial answers. But when the girl you have, there's only one millennial at the table that can even understand it, and she's obviously not a fan of yours nor well-rehearsed in what your ideas are, it was almost like he's sitting there, and I don't want to say he's too smart for them, but he's too smart for The View.
Well, I mean, the view is just kind of like a, I don't want to be rude or disparaging, but it's just kind of like a daytime sit-around talk show. It's not really like this deep,
Like,
philosophical
how do these
or
people-
political analysis. Because it's really, and I hope I'm not offending anyone here. Well, I understand it. It's really no different than like Regis and Kelly was. You know what I mean? Like I believe it's Michael Strahan and Kelly.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
at
mean?
least Regis and Kelly aren't walking around like I'm the View, and they didn't have the political pull that the View has.
I don't think Regis Philbin thought he was some big political mover. But I mean,
Joy Behar acts like she's the kingmaker, and she can't even explain basics of economy. And I really disliked her question when she said, "Oh yeah, well the national debt is a national debt that your party created." And no, sorry, Joy, 40% of what we borrow from China is just to pay for bloated welfare programs that haven't been audited or changed since the Clinton administration. All right. The national debt and the economic demise of the purchasing power strength and general footprint of America worldwide is a completely bipartisan affair. It's not because of your arch nemesis George Bush's Iraq war, all right? The cost of the Iraq war is a drop in the bucket of what we owe ourselves, China, the National Bank, and all of these other loans we got to ourselves and abroad. It's an absolute joke. So that woman bothers me so badly that people take her seriously and she interviews political candidates. Like, can you just stick with Jay-Z and with Oscar winners and entertainment folks? Because when she ventures into politics, I can't stand.
Well, I don't know if Joy Behar really is taken like super seriously as some like political, prophet. I think she has a talk show with some other people.
Am I turning into that old man
Whoopi
that
Goldberg's
screams at
on
the
it?
kids
I
saying,
think
get
so.
off my lawn?
I think so. It's ironic.
It's happening?
I wouldn't say the kids is the view, but I just think it's, yes, there are some people that have different opinions, and some people like Joy Behar. I'm sure she has a TV show. One thing I will note, I was looking again just at the Google Trends.
Well, I like Joy too when she does comedy.
Guess where the number one state with an increase in interest in Andrew Yang over the past 24 hours, I'm assuming from the View appearance that Andrew Yang has. What state's got the highest interest increase?
Oh, geez. That's a good question. So I want to make sure I understand it correctly. Post the View. So after
last
finished,
24 hours. So going back to 8 p.m. the night prior to this.
So it'd have to be a state that was not previously interested in him, but now has a great interest in him. I bet you, I'm just throwing something out there. Could it be a predominantly or a heavily urban state because he talked about reparations?
Good point. He did bring up reparations. We haven't got to that yet. Yeah, close. I mean, just throw it out there. There's only I'll tell you what. I'll give you
Illinois.
I'll give you a big hint.
What?
There's only 51 possible choices.
Yeah. Okay. Who is it? I'm out of guesses.
The Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. That was the hint. Why would I bring up 51 if it wasn't going to be the 51st?
Geez. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
I guess I could have been speaking about Puerto Rico, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
true
But Guam. I think we still own Guam.
One of them's a protectorate
Is there
or
an American
Commonwealth or
Samoa,
whatever.
right? Anyway, yeah. But yeah, so I thought that was fascinating that was one of the largest increases in interest would be kind of that, And then it goes Oregon, California, Washington, so the West Coast as a whole. And then New York is in the last. Thought that was interesting.
Is he gaining those small 0.2 percentages per month that he needs to gain to be able to participate in those final debates like the podcast we did a few podcasts ago?
I believe, let's see if I can pull up the latest polling data. I believe he's tracking towards being there safely.
Okay, excellent. So anyway, any final thoughts before we close? Anything you want to end with?
Give me 1 second. I want to pull up the polling data if anything else came to your mind.
Okay. Well, tons came to my mind. Are you kidding me? But mostly it was actually just I would love a chance to just sit down and just say, Andrew, when they come out the gates at you saying, oh, well, hey, how are you going to pay for this? Don't be on the defensive. Be on the attack. You always have to be yourself and you have to be your personality. And maybe the non-combative nature of him is a strength. I'm not his campaign manager or anything like that. But I would love to see him come out and say, you want to talk improving the lives of people of color? You want to talk reparations and making a community whose net value by 2030 is set to be zero? here, let's talk the universal basic income. Oh, and by the way, it's just not a free giveaway. It's actually a dividend based upon a VAT tax that's given to the companies that have automated the most. He kind of made it sound like, oh, we're going to tax the rich more, and then named the richest companies. So I think the average layman that doesn't understand the intricate nature of VAT taxes and automation could think, oh, it's just another socialist giveaway. I don't think he did a good job of dodging I'm not Bernie Sanders on steroids. I'm not just another socialist that wants a bigger giveaway. He kind of fed red meat to the budget hawks, like apparently Joy Behar, who instantaneously came out and said, well, that's going to cost $3 trillion.
Well, it will, but I think you have a good answer for how they'll pay for it. So, it goes both ways.
Okay, yeah.
Here, one thing I do want to bring up, it's not just pulling up current polling aggregates on Real Clear Politics. Andrew Yang is now at 0.8%, which I believe is a drop from where he was when we last did this.
Oh, shoot.
So that is worth noting. I'm not quite sure what would be attributed to that. Perhaps more serious support for... I haven't noticed anecdotally in the, just Andrew Yang support circles any support. But Andrew Yang was polling at about 1.3, I want to say, end of June. And that's down to 0.8 now today. Again, this is according to Real Clear Politics. So that is something worth noting. I mean,
that is strange. We definitely have to dig into the numbers deeper there.
Basically half a point.
You know who we should ask? Our friend at Nerds for Yang 2020, who was brutally mispronounced.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing, she was like,
Nerds for Young.
Yeah, so Andrew Yang, there's an account supporting you called Nerds for Young. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I thought that was awesome. And we've been seeing him on here with us since, for months now going back. That was super awesome. We got a shout out in the view like that. But yeah, that was really funny. It's like, you just said Yang right. He's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, that's who you're talking to. I believe the YouTube channel supporting Andrew Yang is pronounced Nerds for Yang. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
It's just like we said, let them speak, for out of the abundance of their words will their heart be manifest. Let those on the view speak. Out of the abundance of the disdain for you in their words, will the disdain for you in their heart be manifest.
Oh, one last thing. Hold on.
Okay.
Andrew Yang was drawing some minor criticism earlier when he announced the appearance. He announced on Twitter, heading on The View next Monday and already looking forward to it. Maybe we can talk about something different, like how I like cheesy rom-coms. A few people brought up the fact, hey, it's kind of inappropriate or whatever. Talked about like, oh, going on The View, talking about rom-coms, like you need to win over actual voters who watch The View.
Oh, he's just trying to add comedic relief. Come on.
No, I believe that, but I am saying he did avoid anything like that. It really was pretty much strictly politics.
Oh, it was a totally substantive argument. Yeah, so I haven't said enough good things about it. I think he kept it extremely substantive. I think he looked very level-headed, which was very, very good. And I think he came across as intelligent, which is extremely important, and unintimidated. That was good. I definitely think it was good to see him come across as unintimidated. So anyway, we'd like to know what you guys thought of Andrew Yang's exposure and his appearance on The View. And please comment below. Let us know what you think. And like, share, and subscribe to this video, this channel. And if any of your friends haven't heard about Andrew Yang and want to get on the conversation, hey, point them our way, share the video. We'd love to hear what you guys think. This is Problem Solver Politics.